Warning. Caution. The following video may contain strong graphic language, some really bad jokes, and even some really strong opinions. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome, folks. Nash Taters here. So today we're going to be talking about something that's been on my mind for a long time, and I really want to kind of talk about it and discuss my rationale for what I think about this specific topic. But I'm going to start this video with a little story again. So when I first started playing this game, I did what probably is kind of a habit nowadays for people. What I did was I went onto YouTube, I typed in 2 words. Actually, a little bit more than 2 words because I had to include War of Divisions in the search, right? So I typed in War of Divisions tier list. And of course, there were some people that put up a tier list already, maybe like a reroll tier list, right? And it's, like I said, it's become more of a habit now where any new game that comes out, the first thing either myself or maybe all people do is they go up and look up the tier list, right? They want to see, what is the quote unquote best characters and all that shit. Well, I'm here to tell you that tier lists are fucking bullshit. And here is why. Let's begin analyzing this situation by asking, well, why do people make tier lists? I think the first and maybe the most obvious is that people want subscribers and viewers and views. Especially the fact that, YouTube content, right? Another reason people might make tier lists is to create a sense of security for people. And what I mean by that is this. If they have some sort of quote-unquote guide/tier list that people can look up, then people can have this sense of security that they can just safely summon or get certain characters and build them and be on their merry way to start progressing nicely and not fuck up, and not quote unquote ruin their account. The last thing I think maybe why people create tier lists is to take credit, right? Meaning that they want to create some sort of street cred for themselves, to have or maybe establish credibility for themselves, that people can keep going back to this person or these people because they create tier lists for you, so you can safely rely on the fact that they're going to give you really good information further down the road. Well, I'm going to debunk that shit by giving you 2 solid examples of why tier lists is fucking bullshit. First example is, I said in many of my videos, I play multiple games. And this first game I play is called Ark Knights. It's a simple tower defense game mixed in with character summoning and different elements of what characters be doing. So, Ark Knights has this ranking system of their characters based off of stars. The highest ranking, I guess not ranking is a poor choice of words, it's more like the highest rarity is 6 stars, of course. 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star. All right, you get the idea. So, of course, like a dumbass, I decided to look up the re-rolling tier list. And I fucking re-rolled this shit for 2 days, trying to get this quote-unquote perfect starting combination. And I finally got a combination that I really wanted. I ended up only getting 1 6-star, I think 3 5 stars, and the rest, whatever. And of course, naturally, I was told to ignore the lower rarity characters and just concentrate on the high rarity characters. And I started dumping my resources in them, and I started playing the game. I was like, man, this shit's easy as fuck, man. I'm having a great time. And then, of course, I get stuck. I got stuck midway around chapter 2, and there's only 5 chapters in the game. I haven't played many fucking games where I get stuck so early, right? So naturally, I go back to YouTube, and I type in how to beat set stage. And you know what's funny? The first thing that popped up was how to beat set stage using the lowest rarity character. So naturally, I'm like, what? How is that possible? So then, of course, I started watching it. And I find out there's just dedicated players out there who creates content that you can beat the entire game using low rarity characters. So I look at my box and I realize I have all of those. So now I spend a few more hours gathering more resources, and I started building those characters up. And I started following these folks on how to beat these stages. And now I'm beating these stages just simply using 3 stars, 4 stars, 2 stars, 1 stars even. And I'm having no issues beating them. And of course, later stages, you may have a quote unquote easier time if you start leveling up the rarer characters, like the higher rarity characters. But the thing is, it takes so much resource to level up and power up those high rarity characters. It's going to take you a long time. So naturally, it makes more sense to concentrate on the lower characters. So it pretty much kind of sort of make the tier list kind of pointless if you think about it. All right, let's talk about example number 2. This other game I play, it's called 7 Deadly Sins. It's one of the top grossing games right now on iOS, Android perhaps. And a lot of people play this game. It's based off of anime. And this game has a little history to it. It's actually eerily similar to this game that we're playing, War of Divisions. But this game came out, I think, around the same time as War of Divisions, maybe a little bit earlier. It had a Japanese server version, I think 8 months before global release. And of course, there were a lot of people that jumped on that wagon real quick. Like, I'm talking about tons of people that were playing on the Japanese server. This game wasn't even fucking known to many people, right? And it was really hyped up. So a lot of the people who were creating content in the beginning of the game, right around global release, where I guess they were also Japanese server players, but they were Americans or non-Japanese people. A lot of them spoke English, whatever, perfectly, and they were making content. And of course, they were gaining a lot of following because they're just, people assume that they knew a lot about the game because they play the Japanese version. So of course, their natural content was that they were trying to tell us global players that this is what the Japanese servers did. This is their progression. This is their timetable releases and shit like that. These are what they think are the best players, best characters in the game, yada, yada, yada. And of course, the global version weren't even close in following the Japanese version. And it started causing the shit fest. Whereas all these YouTube content creators were saying, oh, dude, like, don't fucking roll on this character. Don't summon at all because you need to wait a couple of more weeks. And for sure, this company is going to release these characters. And of course, that shit doesn't fucking happen. So all these people were told to not spend their currency to summon. Of course, the company gets mad because I'm guessing even the whales weren't summoning. And they had to make an official releasing statement saying that motherfuckers who are creating content on YouTube needs to stop making false, claims about characters and this and that. Telling people to when the characters are being released and things like that. Because unless it's an official statement, everything people putting out is false. And people are building certain characters and doing certain things all because these assholes, I'm going to call them assholes, because they're creating a toxicity environment. They're creating a toxic environment for the majority of players because we're putting our trust in these motherfuckers, right? And at the end of the day, it was a big fuckfest. Even the company officially retaliated against them, threatening to ban them and shit like that. Anyways, that's example 2 what a tier list is pretty much fucked because a lot of people were building other characters, not wanting to wait for these quote-unquote godly characters, right? And as a result, people were clearing content just fine. So, again, while tier lists may have some validity in certain situations, most of the time, it's just bullshit. Which leads to the next point I'm trying to make. Is this thing called a meta, right? Now, I don't know how this fucking word came about, but since I've been playing gacha games for almost a decade, I hear this term a lot. And I think the way I interpret the word meta is centered around PvP. In all games, there's some sort of PvP. Like all gacha games, right? There's some sort of PvP situation. And meta is pretty much defined as the dominating combination of characters that can help you climb PvP ladders. And that's how PvP is usually created in these gacha games. There's some sort of ladder system. You have to climb the ranking to get the best reward when you're on the highest. Well, here's a fucking wake up call. Most of us, either if you don't spend money or spend little money, you're never gonna see the top. And that's the truth. There was this game called Summoner's War that came out 6 years ago. I used to play that for, I think I played that for like 3 years. And it wasn't until maybe a year or two into the lifespan of the game that a true quote unquote self proclaimed full free to play player started climbing to the top ranks. So before that, it was heavily dominated by whales, right? People who spend a fuck ton of money. But even then, in those type of games, there was no such thing as a meta. There were just fuckload of characters, and people used whatever they thought was best, because certain characters were good and certain characters are just not that great for PvP. And the thing is, not everybody has access to every character. This is why people cannot climb ladders, because the people who are dominating the top pretty much own all the characters, so they can use whatever they want to counter people. Let's apply that to our game. Our game is broken down to two PvP systems. One is the arena and one's the actual PvP. The arena is automated, right? We get to see visually every single thing the defense puts up. So we can literally counter them and just pick the units that we own that can counter the potential defensive teams. In actual PvP, we don't get to see what the opponent have. So there's no way you can say something is meta if you don't see what people are having. Every time you go into an actual PvP fight in this game, you don't know what you're facing. So how can people claim there's a fucking meta? It's fucking bullshit. Now, my experience is every gacha game, at least every gacha game I've seen fuck tons of gacha games. There's some sort of elemental system. There's always a counter to units in almost every gacha game, right? And like I said before, in our game, in Arena, you can literally stare down your opponent's units. You see the detail down to the equipment they use, down to the actual speed of their character, everything. So you can counter them, no problem. And then there's this thing called predicting meta. I can't fucking stand this shit. It's like my biggest pet peeve. And this is not directed towards anyone in particular. It's just in general, across all games, that people are making shit up because it's clickbaiting, right? Let's be honest. It's fucking clickbaiting. They want views. They want subscribers. I get it. I'm doing it. Not clickbaiting, but I'm doing it. I'm working hard to gain subscribers, to gain people to watch my videos and whatnot, right? I'm working hard at it. But I refuse to go down that route to try to clickbait people. I think it's fucking lame. So, predicting meta, right? People are saying, oh man, Lucia's out. Now we're going to have dual gunners. We're going to have double gunner meta, right? I think a few weeks ago when Kiton was released, people are like, now we're going to have the double ninja evade team. It's going to dominate arena. It's going to dominate everything. Well, where's the domination? IPVP, like, my highest ranking is around 5,000, right? My lowest ranking is like 30,000 because I have different accounts that I kind of just learn PvP system, the AIs and everything. So I see all kinds of combinations games. Never had I actually seen any sort of dominating teams. In fact, in the Japanese server, not that I like to compare servers by any means, but in the Japanese server, evasion teams weren't never really a thing. Gunners never really were a thing. I think the only things that were actually quote unquote perhaps called a meta by people is like magic. Like there's people, a lot of people like to use heavy magic units in arena, and a lot of people like to use the combination of tank, attacker, and support, which is pretty much a cookie cutter thing, right? You can literally throw any unit that corresponds to that specific category, you know, and create a team. So even Japanese player, tons of videos I watched, the top tiered, like high ranking top 100 Japanese PvPers or arena players, there's no really a meta. People just play with whatever units they had, whatever combination they think was best to defend. That's what people did. And that's the whole point. Sorry about that. It's my because I'm not moving my mouse, but that's my point, right? Like most of us are restricted to the units that we have, so we have to play with certain units for PvP, whatever. So so technically speaking, if you're doing well with whatever units you have, there is no such thing as a meta. It's all bullshit. Is people make this shit up so you can watch their their videos or watch their streams and shit. Imagine like someone stream says, "I'm about to spend $200 to summon the best fucking unit in the game." Well, if you're a new player to this game, or you're a veteran player to this game, I think you know there is no such thing as best unit. I think I've emphasized that many times, and I think there's many YouTubers, including Cabbage, who I admire and I think is one of the better content creators, openly stated there is no such thing as quote unquote best. It's just there's elements involved. There's different things involved, skill sets, combination of characters. There's so many things that's involved to really definitively say best, best, best. There's no best, right? And he even says there's no really a meta of anything. It's really just people like to use certain units so that, you know, you may see certain units more often simply because maybe it's one of those new units like this. Look, like Lucia, right? It's a new unit. So maybe you see a little bit more of that, right? During the Final Fantasy Tactics collaboration, you see so many Orlandos because that's pretty much the only really unit. We only had like a few units to begin with, and everybody wanted him. For me, it was nostalgia reasons. It's for, the fact that I loved that game, loved the characters. You know, I don't give a fuck if they were best or worse, whatever. It didn't matter to me, right? So, anyways, so, obviously companies, when they're releasing new units, right? Like Lucia, let's take a look real quick. When they showcasing off a new unit, like right here, they make this nice little fucking video. Oh man, that's so gorgeous. And they're showing how much damage. Look at that. Oh, well, maybe not that one, but they could do a lot of damage and shit like that. Generally speaking, most games I see videos showcasing their units, they show them off at their max potential, right? High as Awakening, high as Limit Break, level 99, or whatever the max level is of that game. And that's clearly a marketing scheme to get you. It's like watching a commercial. They want you to buy their product. Like, that's their goal. And when you do tier lists, it causes people to spend their resources building characters. They're telling you, hey, this is the cookie cutter team. Go for it. Do this, do that. And you're going to spend your resource to do it. And here, right now, I'm going to make two shout outs. The first shout out is going to be to a gentleman named FG3000. If you haven't seen any of his videos, I have linked below. Check him out. In my opinion, he's one of the better YouTubers out there because he's covering gacha games. Like, that's his specialty. He covers all kinds of gacha games. And when he decides that he wants to play certain gacha games, he doesn't like meta. He hates that idea. He hates that concept. He wants to go against meta, right? He wants to make his own team, create his own arena teams, create his own PvP teams to do different things. And I love that about him. He's very kind of like me, so to speak, right? He doesn't believe in all that bullshit people spewing, right? He does his own thing. So shout outs to him. I got to give him credit because I watched his video where he was showing upcoming games. And at that time, I think it was in April, it was showing upcoming games of War of Divisions. So I had to thank him for getting me back to playing gacha games. I was playing computer games before I came back to gacha games because I took a long break from mobile gaming. So shout outs to him. And the next person I want to give a shout out to really is, his name is Seatin, Seatin. Again, I have a link below in my description. He covers the game 7 Deadly Sins. He's a huge whale, actually. But he also doesn't really like meta. Like, he knows, quote unquote, the meta every week because, they're constantly releasing characters in that game as well. But he likes to make videos where he's showcasing other units that people wouldn't even think of using. And he will max them out and he will showcase them how to beat these, quote unquote, all these different metas and shit. And in that game, you also cannot see the defense of your opponent. So it's you queue up for PvP, and then bam, you don't even know who you're going up against. But he's just playing all these different units, and he's maxing them out. He's spending shitload of fucking money, and he's having a great time doing it. Kicking people's asses with units that a lot of people would just ignore because they're being told to ignore, right? Because they're not on the fucking high tier list. And shout outs to him. He's a great guy too. So shout outs to him. So after all that, let's talk about obstacles. And the reason I brought up those shout outs is because they're anti-meta, right? And when I say people are talking about meta, again, they're trying to lead you to build these cookie cutter teams. And what happens with that is when you're limited on resources and you decide that you want to follow someone else's guide to the T, you're spending all your resources early on building these cookie cutter teams. And I already proved with a couple of examples, maybe it's not a fact, but at least from my experience, have proven that tier lists end up being bullshit in the long run. If you play any game long enough, you know that when you start having access to different units, it really kind of opens up the game, right? And unfortunately, in this game that we all play, there's this huge obstacle. And let's call this obstacle the wall, right? Some people call it paywall. But in this game, let's just call it the wall. And I'm going to give you some examples. So, the first part of the wall is that when you decide that you want to max out a UR unit, the ultra rare units, I'm going to do a little math. I know a lot of you who play RPGs love math, love science, love logic. So I'm going to give you a little bit all. In order to max out a UR unit, you need 600 shards after you receive the initial copy of the character. This game allows you to farm units that are in the database that are not collaboration or limited time units. So these hard quests, as the game likes to call it, allows you to farm 2 shards per day. So if you were to farm, every day, it will take you 300 days to farm 600 shards, right? Simple math. I don't have a degree in math, but that's simple math. I can do that. Now, if you choose to buy the shards from the shops or whatever, is 30,000 gems, because my calculation is 50 gems per shard. And I'll show you right now. 50 gems, right? Because let's see if I even have a UR. Oh, fuck, they don't have a UR. Actually, here it is. UR. 250 divided by 5 is 50, right? So 50 gems per shard. Obviously, this is just the extreme case. Throughout the month, you can get these shops that open up, the elemental shops, and you can buy your UR unit from there. Of course, sometimes they have feature units, and you can spend some gems to buy those. Of course, there are other ways to get shards, right? You can summon them, obviously, through the normal summoning banners, or you can do the special limited normal summons, which you get free 3 times a day. And then you have a chance to get shards from here. See, look, I got shards, right? Very rarely can you get UR shards, but nevertheless, you have a chance. And then, of course, the Chocobo Expedition. So, you can cut down those days and those gems if you get lucky amongst the times that you're playing. Okay? So that's like the first wall. You have to do a lot of work to get the shards. The second wall is the actual awakening materials. So, the awakening materials. I did a little math, did a little research for you, so you don't have to do it. It takes 19 rainbow spheres, 19 of these bad boys, to max 1 UR unit. Now, I also did some digging. You can earn 3 per month from the login. You can also earn 5 from the monthly mission quests. And then you can also earn roughly 2 to 5 through different bonus quests, bonus events that they give out throughout the month. So by my calculations, that's roughly 15-ish, give or take, 15. So again, simple math, not quite 19. So by those calculations, as a free-to-play player, you cannot even max out 1 UR unit if you were to start from day 1 of a month to the end of the month. Now, let's talk about rainbow rocks, as I like to call them. They're actually called fragment of thought, all right? these rainbow fragments, you get roughly 7 per month free. But you need 9 to max 1 unit. So, I'm no genius. In fact, most people are not geniuses. But simple math. You can't even max out 1 unit. Now, let's talk about walls for whales, right? Whales have walls too, believe it or not. I did a little digging. And if you take a look at all the different packages that they can purchase, and they're not cheap, by the way. It's like $80. Fucking $80, man. $80 for some of these packages. But I did a little calculation. It's $44 per month. You can buy 44 rainbow spears from every single pack that offers them per month. So 44 plus the 17, that's what, 60, 61. So roughly you can make 3 UR maxed if you're a whale, right? So that means a free-to-play player cannot even make 1. A whale can roughly make 3. So, and they're still limited. They're not going to sit there and say, well, fuck, I'm going to spend $10 billion. I'm going to get every unit. I mean, technically speaking, I guess they could if they just sit here and summon. I guess that's the other way to get extra spheres is if you actually summon, because additional copies of units, they will also give you spheres. Same thing applies for vision cards. So, obviously, you have the possibility to get more, but simply based on simple, basic, static, for sure items is 17 spheres. So, now let's talk about the second wall. The second wall is actually energy limitations, right? You have only limited number of refills on your energy. So therefore, even if you wanted to farm all day, you can't. Because once you run out of those refills, you're done. The last one is grinding for materials. It's very painful in this game. And I don't mean like stabbing myself painful or having carpal tunnel syndrome painful. I mean, it takes a lot of time painful. So if you have the time to grind certain things, you can. But remember, you're still limited by the energy. So you ask, fuck, man, I just sat through 20, 30 minutes of this shit that you just created. What are you doing? Like, what's your point of this? Well, the point is, tier list is bullshit. You know what I recommend? My honest opinion to everyone playing gacha games is make your own tier list, right? Do research. Do a large amount of research. Take your time. This game really tests your patience. Because it wouldn't be till maybe like 2 or 3 months into the game do you start seeing lots of nice units build up to really like showcase a lot of different combinations and whatnot. Although you can beat all content in this game if you play every day, even just a little bit. You can beat all the content because you don't need to max out all your units to beat all the content. But a lot of people like to have that sort of sense of accomplishment if they have a lot of units max, right? So what I suggest is do your own research. Create your own tier list. Go to Reddit. Go to different forums, Do watch the YouTube videos. But treat every information like a little bit of information you can just absorb. And then you finally make that assessment what you feel like is the best units for you, for your account. And be creative in your team building. I think that's really important. The importance here is be creative. This game caters to creativity. I watch tons of Japanese arena videos, and people use all sorts of different teams, all sorts of creativity. In fact, I even made a video showcasing the lowest rarity unit in the game and how really good he is. In the link below, I'll actually show you an arena video where he's doing amazing things. The video is in Japanese, unfortunately, so if you don't speak Japanese, I apologize. But just watch the video and just get to the end of the video where he showcases like what that unit is doing, and it's really fun, I promise you. And then of course be your own biggest fan. Don't be a fan of other people, right? I mean, it's okay to be a fan of other people, but at the end of the day, be your own biggest fan, right? When you're playing this game, be your own biggest fan. Support yourself by arming yourself with knowledge and then applying that knowledge to the game. And finally, enjoy the fucking game. All right. This is Nash Taters. Take care of yourself and your family. I'm out.